Shalom. Kol halalim la Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah Kodash. Kol halalim la Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah Kodash. Kol halalim la Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah Kodash. All praises, honor, glory, blessings, and power be unto Abanawa Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to our apostles, elders, elder bishops of Great Millstone. Shalom to the prophets of the body, and shalom to the 144,001 may peace and blessings and the spirit of endurance be upon you and your households as we approach the end, Lord willing, sooner rather than later. Sooner, as soon as possible. But the Lord's going to do everything in his divine timing. As the Lord said, he's not a man that he should lie, right? Nevertheless, I was just reading the book of Judges this morning, right? And as you know, me being an Israelite foreigner, the Bible is quite new to me, so I have not read it. I'm not a spiritual ninja with the scriptures, like this chapter, that verse, but I understand it, and I've got enough understanding knowing that I've got enough understanding. I'll say how I believe Elder Malcolm or Elder Apostle Tahar or Elder Malcolm said this. Each Israelite has enough knowledge to get through the straight gate, or enough knowledge for salvation. I'll just say that, because loosely paraphrasing a scripture, the body of Yahweh Shai is, has many offices, right? So every person has got their specific amount of spirit and knowledge, all right? So everybody's not going to be on the same level. One body, everybody's not going to be the right eye. Everybody's not going to be the left eye. Everybody's not going to be the brain, so forth and so on. Okay, so, I'm understanding it, and Brakti Habashim Yashai, obviously with reincarnation and incarnation, obviously, we come back every third or fourth generation in our family line. It goes to show that, the scriptures are so, man, listen, Yahweh Bashim Yashai, and, the living power, right? Brakti Habashim Yashai, Lord willing, I'm saying everything correctly, Lord willing, right? And the Bible, man, is alive, okay? And it makes complete sense. It's like, a picture that has a mixing, a picture, like you're coming up in life, when you're in the world, it's like you're going through life and everything, and then there's a missing piece, and that piece is slotted right back in where it was missing, okay? Because there's a divine time you're chosen to wake up. John 15:16, ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, right? And then everything just comes together. Even though we're still in these chains of darkness, these weak bodies, you still feel it, but everything makes spiritual sense of why we are here. All right. You look at yourself sometimes in the mirror, think, me? I'm the chosen? A piece of SHIT like me, because you're kind of overwhelmed, man. You're thinking, man, and it's a beautiful, beautiful feeling. And then the Lord gives you spiritual visions and spiritual numbers, and just to solidify things further, there's these spiritual breadcrumbs, so you can keep going, especially when you're thirsty, spiritually thirsty, and the Lord gives you spiritual water to quench your thirst, man. Like you're feeling down, you think, man, the Lord might show you a 555, the Lord might show you a 441, and and your spirit gets pepped up, and you keep going, and the Bible makes complete sense. And I know I'm all over the place right now. What I'm saying all that to say this is, the elect are predestined, man. And there's the same people that may have been in the truth and fell out, or weren't in the truth whatsoever, that turned their backs on Yahweh Bashim Yashai. Those MFers are here today. And I was reading the book of Judges, chapter 1 and 2, but the leading up to chapter 2, where, where, the Israelites got their, actually, I'll read it instead of just paraphrasing it. Okay. Where, a lot of Jake kept the truth, and by the second generation, they weren't keeping the truth. They weren't in the truth anymore. They were, the Lord left the other gods and their statues and the other gods were still there, in terms of, how you say, their how does it say here? Their, their idols and all that. of other gods and stuff was still there, where Jake, the unelect were, or the ones that aren't chosen were bowing down to him, right? And just by the next generation, and it goes to show those same people are here today. Kind of reminds me of certain members of Sakari, GOCC, the ones that sold out, and then Jakes that turned their back on Yahweh Bashim Yashai, full stop. All these sellout Jakes today. And because of these dumb Jakes, when I was reading, I was getting angry inside as well. And I was saying, man, rightfully so, we were punished, man. Bowing down to other gods when the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yashai did all these miracles for us and brought us out of captivity, out of the land of Egypt, and dumb ninjas were, and I was thinking to myself, what the hell's wrong with these Jakes, But at that time, everybody wasn't on the same page. There were Jakes that were, some some were keeping it, following doing the right thing, and then a lot weren't doing the right thing. That's why a lot of our people are going to die on this side, because we come back every third or fourth generation, and that's why this whole planet is full of people. I was watching an interview of Cassius Clay. Fuck that Muhammad Ali shit. I'm not going to call him that bullshit name. Cassius Clay. Cassius Clay, aka Mo Ali, right? I'm not saying that, the full Maham shit bullshit, right? Okay, he was having an interview in the UK in the 70s, right? And he said at that time, I believe he said, there's 4 billion people on the planet. 4 billion people on the planet. I believe he said that, right? And that was like 45, 50 years ago. And we are now in 2026, and there's about approximately, let me just Google it, how many people are on the planet. 1 second, man. Let's just check this out. 1 second, let me just Google this. How many people are on this planet, population-wise, in 2026? Okay. As of early 2026, the world population is approximately, this is approximation, it's probably more. As of and then my phone just chimed, by the way. As of early 2026, the world population is, as of early, where are we? As of early 2026, the world population is approximately 8.3 billion people, according to live estimates and UN-based data. The global population surpassed 8 billion on November the 15th, 2022, to grow by over 80 million people per year, with India and China being the most populous nations. Well, that's good. India and China, beautiful concubines, and also slaves. Keep producing beautiful women, India and China. The Elamite women that look fine, yes please. And Moabite women that look fine, yes please. All day, every day. Let's go. What was the world population in 1972? Well, check this out. Told ya. So Cassius's interview, Mo Ali, right? His interview was probably around about the mid-70s. So he's about right. The world population in 1972 was approximately 3.83 to 3.84 billion. This period was marked by high global population growth rates, which peaked at over 1.8% per year between 1955 and 1975, with the population having recently surpassed 3 billion in 1960. Okay? Right? So those same people are back here today. That's why the world is so populated to a high level and high scale. Why? Because all those generations are back. Okay, all those people that turn their back on the Lord, all you Israelites, okay, you unelect Jakes, okay, and the Lord has kept a lot of you Jakes alive as well, man. You're 2/3. Some of you are like 100 plus, some of you are 90 in your 90s. Some of you, the Lord is having mercy upon. You've given up the ghost. You're in the spiritual realm, knowing you're Israelites. Some of you are still here. A lot of you famous people are here. A lot of you, the Lord is going to raise back up in these last days, okay, just to feel the heat of those nuclear weapons, okay? All right? You're going to feel it. People like Quincy Jones, for example, that faggot, okay? And all the other Jakes. And you heathens, right, you're here too. The ones that put your hands on your Hawashai, the ones that spat on your Hawashai, and you 2/3 too. And you unelect Jakes, you're here too. All right, all you heathens. That's why it's so populated, because judgment is coming. This world is ripe for judgment. Okay, the Lord, it's like a beautiful, ripe, juicy tomato ready to be plucked and cut up and eaten. All right, this is how this world is right now. A juicy tomato ready to be it's ripe. It's just at that point to be ripped off. You know what I mean? And taken. And that's what the Lord Yahweh Shem Yashai has got all these generations compiled up, man. You know, like everybody from that time period when Yahweh Shai was walking the earth physically, they're all here today, man. You know, and that's why the world, it's our the world is such huge population, okay, ripe for judgment. The Lord has got everybody ready, ready, you know. Instead of doing, deleting incrementally, the Lord is saying, okay, let's get them all together, and I'm gonna, have a nice big sacrifice. This is gonna be a nice big sacrifice. Get rid of these heathens, 2/3 unelect Jakes. This is just a nice big sacrifice. Let's just read. If you go back to the book of Judges, he also talked about. I was reading. I thought, man, these are the fucking 2/3 today. These are the unelect Jakes today. I thought they're still here, man. That's why it came to my mind, thinking, man, the same damn idiots are here today, built up, ready for judgment, man. We don't care about the heathen. They're going to get this. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. This kingdom is done, man. 2 Ezra 6 verse 9, for Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And no kingdom, heathenistic kingdom, right, has gone past 250 years, because these heathenistic kingdoms are temporary. 250 years, our kingdom is for eternity, man. That's why Esau Edom gets it from it puts it in these cartoons, like He-Man. They're living in Eternia. They made that movie called The Eternals, which was disgusting because they put all that Mo aspect into it, But we're the real Eternals, okay, for eternity. All right. Let's go to I'm trying to get to the point where it says okay, let's just go here. Judges chapter 2 to verse 6. And when Joshua had let the people go, the children of Israel went every man unto his inheritance to possess the land. Verse 7. And the people served the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders that outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai that he did for Israel. Okay? And Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, the servant of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, died being 110 years old. You see how we've been regressing since then, right? We, living, 100, 800-900 years old or more, been regressing and regressing and regressing in size and length that we live and the age that we live. See that? We're right at the point, man, where we need to be refreshed. We need to be changed. Okay, and the earth is ripe for judgment, man. Hence all these people. Right? Verse 9. I read the numbers of population growth in the space of damn near 50 plus years. And they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath-Heres, in the mount of Ephraim on the north side of the hill of Gash. Verse 10. And also all that generation were gathered unto their fathers. And there arose another generation after them, which knew not the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Shai, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel. Let's read that again. Right? Just the next generation, bro. Just the next generation. Jake was going off. And then when I read this, I thought to myself, what the fuck? I was angry. I was angry at Jake. I was angry at myself. And I'm thinking, I said, Lord forbid I was in that number. I don't think I was, because I'm in the truth now. And Lord Yahweh Hashem Yashai, you just get angry at Jake. And I know I was not, and I know spiritually I was not in that number of turning my back to the Lord, man. Because you got to understand, there's always Jake out there. Lord willing, I wasn't part of that number. But that's the hope, right? The Lord has mercy on us. All right, but it still scares you. But I don't believe that I was. because the Spirit will let you know. Okay, but Lord willing, I wasn't. But it pisses you off. You're thinking, Jake, look what the Lord did for you. All you had to do was follow the law. Our ways are so beautiful. Our ways are above the heathen. But you want to bow down to statues and be a faggot and be a weirdo and uh, 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 you know do sodomy and eat swine's flesh and you know dance around like a fag, around statues with 25 arms and shit. The hell's wrong with you, And also, let's read this again. And also, all that generation were gathered unto their fathers, and there arose another generation after them, which knew not the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel. Okay, so the next generation didn't follow, man. They don't follow the ways, and they which knew not the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yashai, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel. They didn't even know the miracles that had been done for them to be protected. See, that same generation is here today, man, and you know, and a lot of us hope for elect. We feel in the spirit, Lord willing, we're part of that number to be saved, and the Lord will let you know, man. The Lord will bring a lot of you hopeful elect through to spew you out right now, man. Okay, Lord willing. That's a fear, man, which should keep you on your toes. Hence the straight gate, you know. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yashai and served Balaam. Man, dumb niggas, man. Salakia for dumb jakes, man. Dumbos. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yashai and served Balaam. What nitwits, innit? Verse 12. And they forsook the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yashai, the most high power of their fathers, which brought them out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods. Of the gods of the people that were round about them, and bowed themselves unto them, and provoked the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yashai to anger. Jake at that time that followed other gods became whores, man. If we're like the Lord's woman, all right? Okay, we're the Lord's woman. We're the Lord's sole bride. Okay, Israel is. Okay, spiritually speaking. Okay, and you as an Israelite man, if your woman opens her legs to another man, right, especially whether it's a Jake or a heathen, it's still another man. Okay, opens her legs to a heathen or any another man, right? Opens her legs. All right. It's worse with as a heathen, but it's worse. It's worse. Full stop. But you know what I'm trying to say, right? Opens her legs to another dude, another man, right? And humbles herself, and he sees her nakedness. That would make you want to f up your so-called woman, right? Or your women, right? You would want to choke them in it. You want to delete them. Well, us being the Lord's woman, and the Jakes that did that turned their back on the Lord and followed the gods, right? Hence the reason why we went through what we went through, and rightfully so, because we provoked the Lord to anger, man. Lord willing, I wasn't part of that number, but I'm just saying generally, Israel provoked the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yashai to anger. All right, but the Lord has mercy on us too, and the elect were predestinated for that mercy. Okay, that's why a lot of our prophets and elders come out from various hoods and various types of lifestyles, because they were going through the curses, but the Lord had mercy on them because they were predestinated for greatness. Okay, all right. Provoked the Lord to anger, and they forsook the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yashai and served Baal and Ashtaroth. Verse 14. And the anger of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yashai was hot against Israel, and he delivered them into the hands of spoilers that spoiled them, and he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so that they could not any longer stand before their enemies. Okay? Before, we're doing right, the enemies fell into our hands, like a hot knife going through butter. Same way, King David example, I believe King David at that time, being a young man and all, was 9 feet in height. But obviously, men were way bigger. But at that time, King David would be considered small. 9 feet right now would be like, damn, man, Jake is 9 feet tall, man. damn, you look at Shaq, think, damn, he's big, he's a big Jake, but that would be nothing in the ancient world. You'd be like a tiny tot in the night. You'd be like a tiny, you'd be like a shrimp. No, I hate to use the word shrimp. That's unclean. You'd be like a short person in the ancient world, right? And but the Lord, King David is a man after the Lord's own heart. Yahweh Shemashai's own heart, and he's fighting Goliath. Is it David and Goliath, right? Yeah, and Goliath being like 20 feet, I believe, or more, big and all that, man of war. The Lord delivered Goliath into David's hands, man, and King David jerked his head off and won that battle. We were winning when we're doing the right things. When you're doing the wrong things, that's when we fall prey into the hands of our enemies, man. And what do you think that we're going through? Time and time after again, captivity after captivity, Egypt, Greece, Rome. I'm not saying in order of timeline, of course. I'm just saying the captivities that we've been in. Several. All right. America being the final one. All right. Egypt, Rome, Greece, Assyria, Babylon, etc., etc., etc. We've been in captivity under every nation because we kept going off. And this is the worst captivity we've been in, the American one. All right? Having your nuts, balls cut off, your women raped, your babies, men and women raped. Yeah? Jake having to have sex with their, I hate to say it, but it happened, with their own birth mothers, man. Hence the term MFer, mother effer. Where do you think that term comes from? Okay? We went through hell in this motherfucker, man. Righteous punishment was justified, but Esau went above and beyond, so Esau's gonna fucking get it, man. All right? And we're just waiting for the green light from Yahweh Bashim Yashai. All right? But the fact of the matter is that we went off, and those same Jakes are back here today. Hence the reason the world is in a huge population explosion. And I've read to you the population explosion over the last 50 years because the world is ripe for judgment. Okay? And Hosea 1 and 10, we are like the sands of the sea. Israelites, we are the most largest nation on the planet Earth. The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, and not to mention the Israelite foreigners. Because wherever beautiful women are of every nation, you're going to have Israelite seed there. Because just like the brothers get down today, so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indian men, they're with women of all nations today. They were definitely getting it in the ancient world, especially when we had our short stints of power. All right. Verse 15. Let me read this again, verse 14. And the anger of the Lord Yahweh Shemashah was hot against Israel, and he delivered them into the hands of spoilers that spoiled them, and he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so that they could not any longer stand before their enemies. All right, we couldn't stand before our enemies no more. Okay, because Jake was going off. Verse 15. Whithersoever they went out, the hand of the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, the hand of the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai was against them for evil, as the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai had said, and as the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai had sworn unto them, and they were greatly distressed. Indeed, they'd be distressed because you Jakes were going off, man. You turned your back on the Lord, and the Lord, you committed a spiritual adultery. You think the Lord's going to cover you when you open your spiritual leg, you open your legs, spiritually speaking, of course, because, Jake is the Israelites are the Lord's woman. You committed spiritual adultery. You started worshiping other gods, bowing down to other gods, eating unclean things, doing unclean things. You're not following the laws of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. What do you think that's going to happen? All right. Verse 16. Nevertheless, the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai raised up judges, which delivered them out of the hand of those that spoiled them. Time and time again, the Lord raised up, some Jake, Salakia. Time and time again, the Lord raised up somebody. Moses, Yahweh Shai, so forth and so on, at various points in history, judges were raised up, and still Jake was going off, we got punished. The Lord raised up somebody, And then from there, Jake was okay for a bit, then Jake went off again. That's why time and time and time again, we kept falling into captivity. And this is our final one. Hence the reason we need that great change so we don't ever go off again. That's why the Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yashai, has the elect's new bodies ready. Okay? Already, they're there. We just have to just shed this weak flesh. When you're raised up into them chariots, the so-called UFOs, IFOs, you'll be into your new body. Okay? And we'll be spiritually programmed with the laws, statutes, and commandments in our minds, bodies, and souls, where we will never ever go off and we won't ever go into slavery again, and we will live for eternity, the real eternals. Okay? Nevertheless, the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yashai raised up judges which delivered them out of the hand of those that spoiled them. Let's keep reading. Verse 17. And yet they would not hearken unto their judges, but they went a whoring after other gods and bowed themselves unto them. They turned quickly out of the way which their fathers walked in, obeying the commandments of the Lord Yahweh Shemashai, but they did not so. See? You got a lot of those 2/3 here and unelect Jakes here today. Ripe for judgment. A population explosion. We're the largest nation on planet Earth. Hosea 1 and 10. Okay? And when the Lord Yahweh Shemashai raised them up judges, then the Lord Yahweh Shemashai was with the judge and delivered them out of the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge, for it repented the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yashai because of their groanings by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them. Okay? And it came to pass when the judge was dead that they returned and corrupted themselves more than their fathers in following other gods to serve them and to bow down unto them. They ceased not from their own doings, nor from their stubborn way. Okay? And the anger of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yashai was hot against Israel, and he said, because that this people hath transgressed my covenant, which I commanded their fathers, and have not hearkened unto my voice, I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations which Joshua left when he died. Okay? That they, through them, I may prove Israel whether they will keep the way of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yashai to walk therein as their fathers did keep it or not. Okay? Therefore the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yashai left those nations without driving them out hastily, neither delivered he them into the hand of Joshua. All right? So, okay, those same Jakes are here today. That's why the earth is so in huge population explosion, because you've got the same Jakes here today. And you come back in your same lot anyway. All right? You come back in your same lot. Okay? If you're a believer then and you knew the name in each lifetime, you're going to know in the last one. All right? You're going to know time and time again. But time will tell if you are part of that number to be saved. That's why a lot of Jakes, it's like walking on a tightrope. You just want to get to the other end. You're on one side, leaving a dry wasteland, and you're walking across the rope and there's fire and water underneath you or whatever. And the other side is like the kingdom, man. Rainbows, sun shining, castles and mansions and happiness, you can see the Lord as well, spiritually speaking. You can see Yahweh Bashem Yahshai, you can see Yahweh Shai, and you're walking there, and the Lord is blessing you that you make it across. And that's the fear, that you want to make it across and not fall off that rope, man. But I'm just saying, I say all that to say this, that same nation, Salakia, the same Jakes are here today, ripe for judgment. Okay? And there's nothing new under the sun, man. All right? And our rulership is coming, so a lot's going to happen. We've been seeing videos of people, I believe a video is on Arrows of Indignation, or one of the prophecy channels related to the Great Millstone Brothers, which I urge you to subscribe to if you're sincere to learn, right? About a Jake that was, I believe, driving around an Edomite couple, a so-called Caucasian couple, that are very, very, very wealthy, and they were setting up their business in America. And they were saying something about a timeline of approximately 6 months before hell breaks loose, which I'm approximating, which is definitely after, was in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, which is about September, which is July, August, September, 2 months after July. And July is the 250th year of America, and no heathen kingdom lasts out more than 250 years. So we are approaching that real crucial point in history. Okay, okay, the Earth is populated to a high scale. Okay, the 250th year is coming. The financial crash is coming. The Hormuz, is it the canal? Hormuz Canal. That gate, is blocked for certain countries, especially America, right? Um, yeah, blocked for America, right, where they can't get the oil and gas and the crude, the necessities, the oil that they need, etc., etc. Right, the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, that's it, the Strait of Hormuz, and along with that, the push of AI, the push of the micro C hip, you know, um, they're creating AI videos and certain actors and actresses, they're crisis actors, children going missing, putting the charagma in them for safety, knowing where your children's locations are, sex trafficking. So a whole bunch of different things being thrown into this pot of destruction to make people think and ultimately leading them to the mark of the BEAST. Now, the mark of the BEAST has to happen before World War III really kicks off into full gear. Okay, even though it has kicked off, it hasn't got to the point where the draft is kicked in yet, which is going to happen also. So, uh, you know, you have these prophecies, right? The hopeful elect are watching out for under the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yashai. And we're watching the mouthpiece of Yahweh Bashem Yashai, the men of great millstone, that let us know, the watchers, right? The prophets, the apostles on down, the prophets, the bishops, elders, right? Teach us and let us know what time it is and where we're at on the spiritual map on the way to salvation. Okay, so the earth is ripe for judgment, and it all makes spiritual sense, and you fall back into your same lot. Okay, so we're at that time again. All right, all these jakes that are going off, they're still celebrating Christmas, Halloween. They're doing it for the kids, taking pictures in their pajamas with Christmas tree or outfits on, and what do you call them? The Christmas jumpers and pullovers and cardigans and all that shit. Standing in front of the tree and that damn idol, right? They're all ripe for judgment. They may be nice people and all that kind of thing. Maybe some the Lord will have mercy upon. Only the Lord knows. But a lot of them will get got. All right. That's why you see a lot of judgment going out on Issacharite houses and Ephraimite houses. When Christmas comes up, what happens? They're putting up the lights. What happens? The dad falls down, breaks his neck off the ladder, or the house gets set on fire. All sorts of shit happening, man. Because the Lord is fed up. The Lord's burning down some of these Israelites' houses already, some of these Jake's houses, giving them a little introduction into the heat of those nuclear weapons by burning the houses down with Jake and their whole family in it. So the earth is ripe for judgment. Okay, the earth is ripe for judgment. Everybody's back here today. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there now. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yoshai, Ba'ashem Rakak Badash, Mawathabad Babal, Kwam Yashwala, Shalvan.